Um, so again, I do think this is a good thing and a bad thing by the Trump administration. I think Tandy's welcome in, man. How you doing? I was about to ask something about the Second Amendment, but should they add more to it or leave it as it should be? What do you mean add more to it? Like in a restrictive way, or add more to it to be like, yeah, all this mental retardation revolving around the Second Amendment is done and over with. This is the best part about the Second Amendment, right? I'll pull it up. The Second Amendment reads, in quotes, okay, a well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. What our founding fathers are enshrining in our Second Amendment right is that the people outside of any government have the authority to create and regulate a militia, right? And why do you know that it's the people reserve this right and not the government, both state governments and the federal government? Is because they talk about it being necessary to the security of a free state. So, this right, like this is the problem. This right doesn't go away because your government says we have the National Guard. No, 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 no. You have the right to create your own militia. I can get all of my friends and all my male family members, and we have the right to form a militia and train, right? Does that necessarily give us the legal authority to exercise ourselves as a militia for things that we see fit? That all comes down to after the fact, dependent on the situation, right? Not at the time. But the state can't disband us or prevent us from banding together to create a militia, right? Because it's necessary for us to have this capability to have a free state, right? That doesn't just apply to the states. It applies to a free state, right? To exist within freedom, to be in a perpetual state of freedom. Then obviously there's a comma, right? And they say the right of the people to keep and bear arms. They are talking about firearms. They're not talking about firearms of the period. They're not talking about firearms before them, and they're not even specifically talking about firearms after them. They are talking about it is the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Arms is colloquial speak. It's slang for firearms, right? But it's not just firearms, it's arms, right? When we talk about people brandishing arms, it's any kind of weapon. A knife, a bow, a crossbow, a pistol, a rifle, a semi-automatic rifle, a fully automatic rifle, grenades, missiles, tanks, fucking aircraft carriers and shit like that. And then the most important part of the Second Amendment is shall not be infringed, which means that any rule, law, or regulation that infringes on the Second Amendment is unconstitutional, and I do not give a fuck what any other court has to say because they are operating based on precedent and not constitutional law. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed. It's the plainest fucking language, period. Right? Um, that's my opinion on the Second Amendment. So I'm curious to see what you have to say, Tandis, about it. Because to me, as an individual who's not retarded, nothing more needs to be said about it. Nothing more needs to be said about it. The left are the ones who are trying to turn the situation into something more needs to be said about it. Nothing more needs to be said about it. They enshrined our right to create a militia, train ourselves, own weapons, and operate those weapons, right? And that the government, both federal and states, have no authority to infringe on that right. So anything that infringes on that right, trying to regulate what firearms we can have, what accessories we can have for those firearms, the ATF and the FBI break down militias all the fucking time across our country. They just keep labeling them as insurrectionists, but they don't become insurrectionists until they actually fucking operate with an act of insurrection, right? Obviously, all militias are insurrectionists. because militias exist to resist the authority of the state, but they're legally enshrined in our Constitution for us to be able to engage in them, right? Because it helps keep the government in check. It constantly keeps pressure on the federal government and on state governments by American citizens and by the people of the country to prevent them from descending into tyranny, right? And people don't fucking understand how fucking important the Second Amendment is. You have nothing else. You have nothing else if you don't have the Second Amendment. And if you allow them to take away the fucking Second Amendment, right? You lose everything. You will lose everything. And people they really do not understand that kind of power dynamic that the people of the United States are supposed to exert on our country. You wonder why Congress hasn't declared war, or why they haven't passed a budget, or why they keep shutting down and they can't get their shit together, and we have all this political turmoil in this country. Why it feels like by both Democrats and Republicans that their representatives don't actually represent them. They aren't scared. Because there is no pressure mechanism by the people of the United States against our government because of their restrictions on the Second Amendment.
With the beat of the drum and the fife so high, we march with courage under the sky. Banners wave and hearts on fire. In the name of freedom we aspire. Through valleys green and mountains gray, in every night and every day, voices loud and banners bold, a tale of liberty unfolds. Raise your voice, let freedom reign. With every breath, let our hearts sing. In the echoes of history we take our stand, for this proud and precious land.